Hello. Well, I decided to go live today. I can't see how many people are on. I'm trying a new streaming platform. As you can see, StreamYard. I'm not willing to pay for it until I try it, but I'm gonna need to do live streams for a little while. Unfortunately, as I'm having some arm issues due to extensive editing. So I wanted to put some content up. We'll see how this goes in terms of doing the live streams. But I thought I would run through the Indiana Fever and the LA Sparks just to preview that game and see how it would go. Can you hear me? I have one person viewing. Can you hear me? That is my question. I hope I'm just not talking into the air. Um, but with the LA Sparks, I think this is a very important game for the Fever is they desperately need a win tonight because they're 0 and 5 and this would be the game to win after having a brutal schedule. This is the one for them to get tonight because LA is very beatable. They're very competitive two teams, and I think it's important that they get this win just to take the pressure off. It's very interesting. The whole I'm not going to spend this entire stream talking about Caitlin Clark, but I do want to touch on it a little bit because I find the whole thing very fascinating. The Caitlin Clark it seems to have shaped up to two as often everything is polarizing. It's either Caitlin Clark is unbelievably overrated, or it's man, Christy Sides is killing her, coach is killing her, the refs aren't giving her calls, it's not fair, and it's not right. Oh, by the way, can y'all hear me? Can you give me a comment if you can hear me? Can't am I just talking into the ether or not? I'm trying a new um, um, editing software, new software for this. So hopefully you can hear me. But yeah, I wonder with Caitlin Clark why it's so polarizing whether she's overrated, not overrated, and it seems to have gone into two camps. And I think just to take the pressure off, they are desperate to get a win tonight. In terms of Caitlin Clark, I think you've probably seen the graphics where they show comparatively to other rookies like Anescu and Kelsey Plum, she's doing fine. The only thing she has is way too many turnovers, obviously, but she turned the ball over a lot when she was in college. My question with Caitlin Clark is she does she have that Brett Favre syndrome where she wants to make that hero pass all the time? And will that lead to her just being a turnover machine over the duration of her career? In some ways, she reminds me so much of Stephen Curry. I think Stephen Curry, very similar to her. And I think he had an easier start just because nobody knew Stephen Curry was going to be Stephen Curry. And he had a few years to sort of figure it out before he's under the spotlight. Caitlin Clark is always under the spotlight. So it's very interesting and it's she's just taking income. That's why I sort of did the initial video on the coach Christy Sides. Is I thought, how can your coach get after you when the coach knows she's going to take it from all comers? I thought you would hope if you're Caitlin Clark, one person would have your back. But what I'm going to do is run through the different teams real quick, just to give you my thoughts on the various teams. So, and I'm just going to go I'll start from 12 to 11 just in the standings. So this isn't a power ranking. It's just my take on the teams because I've watched them all so far. Indiana, obviously, Indiana. We don't know what Indiana is yet. This will be one of the first games we'll see. I mean, their schedule's been brutal so far because the Sun are good, the Liberty are good. I know the Liberty had their loss last night. And so that's why this game is going to be so interesting tonight. The next one, Washington. I think Washington, the Mystics are a good indication of why the WNBA is so good this year because the Mystics, they're a fun watch with what is it, Van Loo? She's a fun player to watch. It's good to watch Aaliyah Edwards developing. They're that team that's going to be good enough to lose in the fourth quarter. It feels like when a team wants to put the squeeze on them and say, "Hey, it's time to tighten things up," they can be shut down on offense, and they struggle when that happens. But they're still a good watch, and that's why the WNBA is so good this season. In my mind, at least. I don't know what the percentage would be, but I've just been watching her, and she's had a lot of easy layups and things like that that just haven't gone in. You think as she settles over time, those would start going better, but she hasn't been finishing real great. It's clear that she'll rebound. It's clear that she has an all around game. And like all of the rookies, she shows flashes. The number 10 team, the LA Sparks, I again, the LA Sparks are fun to watch. Rakia Jackson playing the power forward spot, I think that's been fun to watch. I think obviously they scored in the draft. I think Rakia Jackson is going to be good. The advantage with her is eventually she'll move to the small forward spot, but she looks totally comfortable at the power forward spot. I think over time with Cameron Brink, she shows flashes of being best. To see that flash that she can make Asia Wilson uncomfortable, that's good. She's shown that she can shoot from outside a little bit. I know their stats aren't great. Doesn't really matter at this stage. That's fine. But I just think they're getting used to it, and that's fine. You want to see flashes that they can do it, and I think so far those two rookies, they look like they're going to be fine as they settle in over time. Now, number 9, sitting number 9 is Dallas. Dallas is interesting in my mind. I I probably had it wrong. I had Dallas making the playoffs, like being maybe number 8, number 7 in the mix. But so far, they're a worry because they've just gone. It's all Ariki or nothing basically. If and that game playing with a real half of the Atlanta game, came out the second half and just wasn't hot. You can't stay that hot the whole game. In the first half, she's taking shots. I'm like, that's a ridiculous shot. And it's going in, and it's hard to take her on for that. But then when she does it in the second half, it's not going in. You're like, oh my god, it's just no way to live with just her just launching shots everywhere. It just has a limited returns. I don't know if they're going to be able to get Segrist more integrated into the offense. She just needs somebody else. And I just don't know about Dallas. In their times, I just look at it and it's just like you just cannot just go one player doing that. I think, in my opinion, you could disagree, but I think of the last draft. I I think probably Dallas has regrets because I think they. I'm not saying J.C. Sheldon's going to be a bust, but it just takes so long for point guards to develop. I'm quite curious. I think if they had to do it over with, especially with Natasha Howard's injury, that would have been good depth and just a nice player to mix in with Tierra McCowan. Now, did anybody have any? Or y'all are hearing me? Is that correct? Because I'm not seeing comments or anything. Has anybody posted a comment? Can you post a comment if you're hearing me, please? Does this work? Let me see here. Testing. Can you hear me? I don't know if that's working. Okay. All right. The next, I'm just going to power me to Neka Agumake is just going to get better and better. You got Diggin Smith. The only question with Seattle in my mind is Jewel Lloyd and her efficiency because she is just not real efficient. Oof, what did it say? Having trouble checking. Okay. What is this saying here? I'm sorry, guys. I just can't see the comment section. Oh, God. So I have 4 on. Okay. But with Aguma, yeah, with Aguma K, that is fine. I just don't know about the efficiency of Jewel Lloyd and how that is going to play out for them. Their big go to Atlanta, I think they would have had a better shot combining with Ryan Howard, in my opinion. I think that would have worked better in the long term, but we can argue that till the cows come home. But Seattle, as long as they can stay healthy, I know Neka's already rolled her ankle to be, but she's already back and playing. That's the thing that scares me about Seattle is can they stay healthy? Atlanta, I said it in my preseason video, and I still think it. They're very much a mirror of Dallas in a lot of ways. That's what I see of of Atlanta, and just will Ryan Howard. Currently, Ryan Howard's been efficient her first 2 games, but then when she played Dallas, she wasn't, and that's my question with them. Can she remain efficient? I think at times they can be a lockdown, totally buttered if they can turn into that sort of team. Sitting fifth is Las Vegas. Las Vegas is interesting as I think they finally have come back to the pack, obviously, with Chelsea. Chelsea Gray and her injury, they are very beatable as Phoenix got them on their home court. And I think that will be the interesting thing. Will Chelsea Gray come back this season? Now, she's saying she's going to come back. They're just taking it slowly and just want to make sure that they do it the right way. But you can tell they are not the same team when Chelsea Gray is not there. Like she's the straw that mixes that drink. If they don't have Chelsea Gray, they are not they are not winning the championship, in my opinion, or it'll be very, very tough without Chelsea Brown. She can get it. She can control it and give everybody really good looks. I don't think. Oh, thanks, Drake. Thank you. I finally got a comment. Somebody can hear me. Thank you. Bless you, Drake. Thank you so much for that. I was like, oh my God, am I talking into the ether here? But yeah, I think Vegas, they have to have Gray back. It's interesting with them as well. The other thing I haven't heard of any people talking about this, but this Derek Hamby trade in hindsight is just an utter disaster for these guys because it was basically a salary dump to LA. It was a salary dump to LA, and they got nothing, to let them get Candace Parker and Clark. Clark's still there, but they got nothing out of Candace Parker to win the championship. As Brian Windhorst says, winning a championship is not having to say you're sorry, but at the same time, that it's they took so much heat for that. And the title of their video for this season is, the Aces versus everybody, and a lot of that is from the PR hit they took from the whole Hamby situation and her revealing that they were paying under the cap. The WNBA just swept that under the carpet, but there's no doubt that they did that, and that's why they're taking incoming from all sides. So a very bad trade that's been very overlooked. Now, with Chicago is currently sitting 4. They are 2-1 and got a big win over the Liberty. Now, I have been hard on Chicago, but they've come out and won their first 2. I'm still not a believer, but I credit Witherspoon as she has them playing hard. They just outplayed. They just they wanted that game more than the Liberty the other night. They were more into it, playing physical, and Angel Reese outplayed John Qual Jones. I think it's undeniable she outplayed her. It was almost like Angel Reese was the veteran and John Qual was the rookie. Like she baited her into the first foul when they were running in, and sort of John Qual sort of dipped her elbow in, and Angel Reese played it up, like totally played it up. But she got the call, and that's what you want. That was a great move by the rookie. And then in the fourth quarter when she had 4 fouls, she got John Quall's 5th foul, and John Quall was just losing her mind on that, and it was great. I mean, that was exactly what you want to do with Angel Reese, and I think she did. She's doing what she can do well, which is rebound and play defense. You can see what her future is when she's out there. They can switch 1 through 5 with her. So Chicago is just going to get in rock fights with everybody. So they got in a rock fight with the Liberty. The other thing with the Liberty is I just don't know if they can guard perimeter players because Kennedy Carter could get to the basket, it felt like, anytime she wanted, and that's their problem. They've got 2 point guards there with Ionescu and Vandersloot, and it's just that's what got them with Vegas last year, and they haven't really done anything to correct that. I know what they're saying is, "Hey, we got better chemistry now, and we know each other so much better now," but I just don't know. Every team in the WNBA has holes. That's what makes the WNBA so good this year. Is last year I thought it was pretty obvious that Vegas was going to win it, especially if Candace Parker stayed healthy. It was a done deal in my mind. But this year, all the teams have little makes it better. And like I say, the bottom teams like Washington and the Sparks, they're compelling as well. And obviously, Indiana's compelling because you want to see them win. That's why it's good. There's no certain winner. And with Chicago, they're doing what we're just going to play hard defense, get all over you, and they can still get into a team like the Liberty, which is fantastic. Now, Phoenix is another one I thought was gonna be. Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, I don't normally do live streams. I said at the beginning, kind of be. I've been having issues with my shoulder, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to edit. So I thought I'd try to do live stream and see if I can switch over to that, as it's easier on my shoulder as we're playing hurt a little bit. Hey, my shoulder's like Camilla Cardoso's shoulder, unfortunately. But no, thanks for that. Yeah, with what was I saying? Phoenix. That was I talking about Phoenix before? I lost my train of thought. But with Phoenix, I think they're really interesting in my opinion with Phoenix because I've got to admit, like they knew what they were doing. Nick Urin and Tibbetts, they traded for all long players that can shoot. I think Rebecca Allen was very underrated. She's long. When you put Rebecca Allen and then Copper has been awesome as well. Is she turning into a genuine star? And if they can stay healthy, Natasha Cloud, the experienced point guard, they have all the parts. And Taurasi's looking frisky as well because she's not having to do as much. She's not having, and she fits in perfectly. When she gets that occasional 3, she's hitting it, which has been great for them. And that's what I want to see. What would you say here, Drake? That's how the Aces beat them. The Aces have 3 athletic guards. When Gray is healthy, that's the thing. And will Gray be healthy? New York didn't have Laney. Yeah. And I just the one that they'll miss. Who's that little point guard that got away? She was good. She was with the Liberty. I think that gave them a little bit more explosive depth. The point guard that she was a foreigner. I can't remember what her name is. I've forgotten her name. But that's what they'll miss. Phoenix, though, the way they've put that together, they're long. So Allen is long. If she can stay healthy, you have a long Allen with Taurasi, who's big, and as well you've got Copper. And then in the mix as well, you've got a good point guard, Natasha Cloud. But it's injuries. That's what worries me about them because Allen has never been able to stay healthy. Taurasi's up there in age, and I wonder, is she going to stay healthy? But I would say they're the funnest team to watch right now. I think by far Phoenix is the best team to watch in the league because you can see that they're just like, hey, they're playing for each other. They just look like they're having fun watching. I think Chicago is the same way. I think Chicago said, "Hey, everything says we're going to be bad. We're not going to be bad." Thank you. Yeah, it was Marine. Yeah, you're right. But I think with Phoenix, if they stay healthy, they are the funnest team to watch, in my opinion. The Liberty, as I said before, yeah, are their guards athletic enough? Have they corrected that issue? Of all the teams, they probably look the strongest right now. But if Chelsea Gray gets back, then straight away the Aces are back up to the top, in my opinion, just because their guards are so much better than the Liberty guards, and they crushed them in the finals with their guard play. If Chelsea Gray is 100% healthy, then that's the team to beat and will skyrocket back up to the top of the chart again. But because we don't know that she's healthy, I think it makes the WNBA so much more interesting. Now, the number one right now, 4-0, Connecticut Sun. Now, what did you think about the call last night? The call uh, on Nafisa Collier. Did you think that that was a foul or no foul? Because, in my opinion, that was not a good call. It was interesting because Nafisa Collier is usually pretty low key in the press conference. I liked what she did in the press conference. So she ate it in the press conference, basically saying, disappointed in myself for missing the free throws. That's on me. But by the way, that was a BS foul call at the end, and she was totally right. And the announcer was a homer. It was so obvious. Like, she bumped her, she barely touched her, and I thought Collier was there before her, and it was a bailout call because there was no way Bonner was making that reverse layup. I thought that was a Bush League call. Uh, it was just, I could not believe is how many times have we seen players get hammered at the end and they put their whistles away. But on that one, on the actual block, it was clearly all ball and it was just barely a touch and they called it. That was just brutal. I Connecticut Sun are this to me. This is what I see the Connecticut Sun as. The Connecticut man strength. That's what they are. With Alyssa Thomas, she's just gonna bully you, knock you down, get her shot off, and she can't. That's what they are. They're just that old man, smart team. They'll get to their announcers. Hey, you say that, Drake, about the announcers. All announcers here. Let me put that one up. Yeah, all announcers, the W are homers. It's not nationally televised games. They work for the. They do. But that being said, in my opinion, I think the best announcer is the Sparks guy. I don't know what his name is, but he is great. I like him. He is a homer, obviously, but I think he does better than most. I love the Sparks game, so I'm happy about this game tonight because it's in LA, and he'll be doing. I like his games in the way that he calls a game, but yeah, most of the other announcers are. It's horrific. The guy in Dallas is a homer as well. It's unbelievable how much of a homer the guy in Dallas is. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I do too. I like her as well. You're quite right. No, and she does. Some of the teams are better than others. Phoenix, not a big fan of. Yeah, I don't know. Some Phoenix, not the great fan of Phoenix, but yeah, it comes and go. I'll need to do a review of all the announcers, I'd say. But with the Connecticut, yeah, they just have that old man strength, and you know that they're going to be top four. But the thing you do. And that's where when they came up against Class, against the New York Liberty, now they would defend that, I would say, and they would say, hey, the reason we didn't win last, in the playoffs versus the Liberty was, we were missing Jones and that hurt us. But I just don't think that they can, they can, you know, I- yeah, I just don't see the Sun breaking through. Oh, they can make it to the final. I just don't see them winning a championship. And maybe I'm harsh, but that's the way I see it. I just don't think they're that upper class. The other thing I can't figure out is the announcers. Like last night during the game, they were talking about, oh my God, it's so good. Alyssa Thomas, she plays through these torn labrums. Why doesn't she get them fixed? Because it limits her game because she can't shoot from outside. I don't understand done and have full range of movement in her shoulders and add to her game. It's never made sense to me why she's playing with torn labrums and hasn't gotten the surgery. I mean, it's totally her call as it should be, but I'm just like, man, if it's just hard enough to play basketball and you're going to play basketball with torn labrums is crazy. Um, yeah, the Yeah, the SNY broadcast for UConn. Yeah, if you're a UConn fan, yeah, those broadcasts are pretty much one-eyed. The UConn broadcast. Okay, what do y'all want to do now? Do y'all have any questions or anything, or do y'all just want me to log off? I'm happy to answer questions as well. That's sort of my run through on the teams. I'm happy to talk college basketball as well. Um, whatever works. But yeah, like I said, I'm just playing around with this to see if live stream could be a go for me because I'm struggling to do the editing because of my shoulder, unfortunately. Um, let's see, what is this? They said they have to take at least a full year off, and she plays year round. Yeah, I mean, it's a 9-month surgery. That's, people got angry with me about saying that I thought Camila Cardoso would be out. But if Cardoso is going to get her shoulder fixed, now would be the time because it's underrated. I don't know if many have talked about it, but the the rookies having to go in like the Caitlin Clarks coming off the college season and then having to play the WNBA another 40 games plus the playoffs so they make it. I mean, that's an NBA schedule for them. They've been playing since, October of last year. That's crazy. That's crazy. So if I was Cardoso, like I said, I think she has a torn labrum. I'd get the surgery done now and have it fixed for the rest of my career. Why not take 6 months off? Because it would just add so much more to her game. Because right now, she does incredibly well. Thomas does incredibly well for not having a shot, but you think about how much better she would be if she had like just a little bit of a mid-range game. And I know she can do that push shot when she's open. She will do it, but she would just be so much more devastating if she did have even a better shot. But yeah, just in my opinion, I would just get that damn thing fixed when you can. Um, that's my 2 cents. But obviously, I'm not saying it's her body. She decides what to do. Um, last thing I want to touch on. What do y'all think about this whole uh, the expansion? Do you think expansion is a good thing, a bad thing, or just no opinion on it? For me, I'm a little bit dubious of expansion. I guess I'm a little bit greedy because I just think when yeah, personally, I think the 12 teams, I think the good thing right now with the WNBA is all 12 teams are going to be good, high quality. My concern, oh yeah, no worries. Ouch. What does this kind of be? Didn't realize that was an issue with her. Oh, well, kind of be. I don't know if you've been watching, but she had a fall in preseason and kind of be when she fell in preseason, she hurt her shoulder. Now, Chicago says that they're going to reevaluate her like in 4 weeks and they anticipate her playing. Now, I did the video on it. Like I did a video on it and I just looked at the injury and I thought she popped out her shoulder and subluxed it and tore her labrum. Um, if I don't know if you saw my comment section, but Quita wasn't impressed with that because she thought that it was rampant speculation on my part that she would be out potentially for the season, which it was, to be fair, which it was. My thing is I thought it was pretty obvious she tore her labrum. The one thing I said with that injury, much like how Thomas is doing, you can play through it. You don't have to have surgery. If the thing is not popping out, you can play it. You're just going to be limited by it. And it's an injury that doesn't improve with, if your shoulder's stable and not popping out, then it's fine. But I just thought because she's a rookie, she'd probably want to just go ahead and get it fixed. And it'll be interesting if God, no doubt, if Camila Cardoso starts playing, people are gonna come at me. Oh, you were wrong. You said she was out for the season, which is fine. But I didn't say she was out for the season. I said she was potentially out for the season because a lot of times when that injury happens, they just go ahead and do the surgery. Because if you don't do the surgery, the thing gets popping out, getting worse and worse. And a lot of times they just go in there and do the surgery because eventually you're going to have surgery. And I thought that her injury was very similar to Satu Sabali, who had her injury when they were playing Brazil. Like that's what she did to her shoulder. She'll actually, Dallas is saying she'll be back from the Olympics. That surgery usually takes about 6 months to get over, essentially. You can usually return about the 6-month mark. And that's why they're saying, I think it'd be a little bit early for Satu Sabally, but they're saying after the Olympics with the extended break, she could come back then. So we'll see. So um, to be determined. So yeah, with the teams, I'm not sure. I think I still say I think the thing that worries me about the WNBA, and I'm not a hater of the WNBA, is it's just what is the perfect amount, and just we don't know what the status of these teams are, who's making money, who's not making money, and it's more like that. It reminds me a little bit of baseball. You have the haves and have-nots. It's and a team like the Aces is doing well, but then I worry about a team like Chicago that they've always struggled with their ownership to a certain degree, and they've lost players to the Aces because they want to play in better facilities, which makes sense. The players wanting to do that, but it just really makes it a bit unequal on the league. And I'm just worried about more teams, because the one thing with basketball is it can get really ugly if your teams can't match up. Like if you have a bad team, it can be really, really bad. That would be my fear of having a really, really bad team, and just not being competitive. Right now, like I say, Indiana's 0-5, but I don't mind watching Indiana. I don't mind watching the Washington Mystics because they can give a game and be competitive, and I can see the different players and see how they're playing. So that's my fear. If you get sort of really, really bad teams, what's going to happen to those teams? And it can get ugly when teams have to fold and stuff like that. That would be my fear on it, but to be determined. I think we'll probably end it there, 30 minutes, unless anybody has any questions or anything. Yeah, they need more owners that want to invest. That's the question. Like, it's interesting with that, I'm curious to see if the players will go back to Russia again. Like, I know everybody has a bad taste in their mouth with Russia, but through the last 15 to 20 years, Russia has carried the WNBA because all those players like Taurasi and Bird and Candace Parker, they made their income by going and playing overseas, and a lot of times in that Russian team, because they had a Goliarch or whatever it's called, an oligarch. What is it? I can't remember. A Goliarch, a billionaire that was willing to finance them, probably a corrupt billionaire, but they were willing to pay for those teams and pay for talent, which sort of carried those players. And that's a big hit that, yeah, they are going to free ranch. I wonder do you watch those games, Braden? Are you able to get those games in the States, like the European games? Like, is there um, um, is there a streaming service for the European channels? I wonder, because that's what I want to see. Because those teams are loaded. Because you'll have like Stewie and John Qual. Well, I guess the Liberty have Stewie and John Qual, but those teams are loaded. I think those teams would be great to watch those games. In some ways, I'm looking forward to the Olympics because, yeah, and that's how you probably have to watch it, just the replays on YouTube. I actually like the international game better. Like, the one thing I like about the Olympics is that you can't call timeouts in play. I think that's great. Like, I don't like it where you can be on the ground and call a timeout. I'd much rather them have to do that. And as well, late in the games, I like it where the players have to figure it out on their own. They can't go to timeout to timeout to timeout. I would say I like the European rules much better than the other ones that they have in the WNBA. So just watch playoff games. Stewie, Vandersloot, McBride, Subley were all the team last year. Massaman, they were stacked. Yeah. It's fun to watch, isn't it? Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, enjoy the Sparks and Indiana Fever. I might come on afterwards and just because I'm obviously going to watch the game, so I'll probably come on afterwards and talk about the game if you want to come back in. But anyway, thanks for your patience with this. I haven't done many live streams, like I've said, so it was fun. So appreciate it. Have a good night and enjoy the Fever in Indiana. Have a good one. See you, Conda B. Good night.